Welcome back, everyone. I'm Julian Pastry Timecard, and casting alongside me is our #1 suspect in the case of the missing Canadian flag suit, Isaac Xayah Cummins
Yeah,
Bentley.
they're never getting it back.
Well, the Rift is ready for our next series of the day as EchoFlux take on Team Envy. Last night, Team Envy upset Cloud9 of all teams, what was a very strong 2-0 for the side.
Yeah, and I mean, it's called an upset because you're like, oh, Cloud9, one of the best teams in the league. Well, guess what? They're actually tied in the standings with Envy, so not as big an upset maybe as it's being made out to be. And they're playing actually very strong. LirA has been crushing it in the jungle. I think that the Envy bot lane has been on point. Hakuho on those playmakers, was doing very well. Apollo was hitting a lot of Ash arrows, and in general, I think those guys have been very, very strong and one of kind of the main points of consistency for the team. So this has been a big difference, I think, from Envy in the past. I mean, like, look at some of these stats, how good they are for Apollo. People think of him as a bottom tier AD carry. He is not anymore. He's playing really, really well.
He's certainly been looking great, and we'll see if Mash or Keith can match up against Apollo's. EchoFlux continues to exercise their 10-man roster.
And I mean, both bot laners have not been particularly impressive. Not always can you pin their struggles on the bot lane. Like, I think that EchoFlux's problems are much more to do with their poor macro play, their poor map movements and minion wave control. Like, that's always their struggle. But their lane has not been shining, and this is one way in for them. It's kind of tough to tell sometimes why the subs are happening. EchoFlux talks about wanting to use the 10-man squad, but today Damonte, Grig back in. We actually heard from Seraph yesterday, both in the interviews at the top of the day and the interview I had with him yesterday. He said the only person that they're scared of on all of EchoFlux and 10-man roster is Froggen. And he said the only reason it could be hard is if Froggen plays. So he thinks it's essentially a free win without Froggen in the lineup. We'll see if EchoFlux can prove him wrong.
Well, we'll get to check in with that because we're about to see the starting lineups. On the blue side, it's EchoFlux. In the top lane, Looper. In the jungle, Grig. Mid, Damonte, so Froggen out for this game. Bot laner Keith, support Gate, and coach Inero.
And on the red side today, their opponents are going to be Team Envy. In the top lane, Seraph. In the jungle, LirA. Mid lane, Nisqy with bot and support. Going to be Apollo and Hakuho and Coach Kyle.
And it is something we can look at because a number of teams have been using substitutes. In fact, I almost forgot that Envy started the split with Pyrian, who was very successful. And he has been playing a couple games back and forth as Nisqy integrates into the team. But I think for me, having 1 or 2 extra players is maybe a better model of success, at least what we've seen currently. Nisqy and Pyrian, certainly players that are interchangeable and that do have different strengths.
And I mean, I think that subs can work in a world where you have 2 players playing the same role. You play assassins, I play control mages. Great, that makes sense. But my problem with most of the situations is it's being called like essentially, oh yeah, we're a sub, we're a 10-man squad. Well, actually, you're just trying to see who's best so that the other person can then get kicked off the team. And that's how it feels most of the time for me. And if you just have 2 people playing the same champions and everything, it feels very arbitrary who's playing. It's like, oh, well, great, you had 5 kills on Corki this week, I only have 4, I guess you got to play. Like, is that really the right way to go about it? It feels kind of random.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit random. We'll see if EchoFlux can find a bit of consistency because, as always, that is what we're looking for from them. On the Envy side, though, seem to be rising steadily in strength. For me, the only kind of obvious consistent weakness has been the top laner. Seraph, his highs are very high, but he's kind of consistently underperforming in a lot of different matchups.
Yeah, he is, but I mean, sometimes he is able to have really good games. Like you said, he has those high highs. Yesterday, got slammed early in the game on Jarvan, but able to come right back into the game, make big plays, still able to be effective. I feel like Seraph is in this mindset of, I must carry for us to win the game. It's almost like he hasn't realized how good his team actually is this split. Sometimes you can just lose gracefully if you're getting focused by the jungler. Hey, great, no problem. I'll go down 30 CS because my bot lane is going to carry the game. It's not a problem. And when you have successful members, they're talking about their mid lane being stronger this season. We already know LirA is god. Like, their bot lane is doing better. You don't always have to have that weight on your shoulders. Like, you don't have to carry the game.
Yeah, and I think Envy, again, they're kind of learning as they go, but certainly building up a lot of strength. They push towards maybe even top 4. They can continue rattling off wins. EchoFlux on the other side at 4 and 7. Gonna need some wins.
I mean, they're tied for 4th right now, so they are in that top 4 spot. They did it. They made the push.
There's like 16
They
in
made
top
the
4
push.
right now. All right, we'll see what happens in Chaps. Like, I'm getting trolled. But Marking Crack is the first 2 bans from EchoFlux. Thank you for your technical correction, Mr. Xayah. Syndra is the final Fox ban. And there's Zach Caitlin with one more fun one to come for Envy.
Good try.
Not Galio.
Almost
Not
had the timing. But
it's Kalista this time.
All right, Kalista going to be rising a lot in priority. And I have really been enjoying the competitive landscape on 7-13, seeing every different team kind of having their own interpretation of the meta. I mean, we've seen Hui extremely successful on Vel'Koz, but only really he brought it out. It got banned against him in the next game. We've seen Shrimp playing a lot of Nunu. That's been very successful for him. There are some universal big picks, like the Kalista, like the Gnar. These sorts of champions are universally good, but I've been very interested to see everyone's different interpretations of what really is the best right now.
Well, a lot of high-tier picks at least as we fly through this first phase. Elise, Tristana, and Taliyah, the first 2 picks for Fox. The answer was Thresh, Xayah for MB with 1 more to go.
One champion I will say my interpretation of the meta is very good is Tristana. I think Tristana has been absolutely crushing it. Not sure if we're going to have the win rates pop up, but last I had thought it was near 80%. There have been some games played, so it could have shifted a bit. But I mean, the fact that this champion with quite a few games is that high of a win rate is ridiculous and is being very, very successful across the board. Can be abused in lane by strong bully laners such as the Thresh and perhaps even the Xayah, but if you can get through those lane phase, you can siege turrets incredibly well. Your mid game is actually pretty strong from ahead, and your late game is phenomenal.
And MB's bot lane, their calling card really has been just all-out aggression in so many situations, so banning Braum to kind of give themselves a better 2v2 lane on Thresh Xayah is already quite strong.
Yeah, we could see them take away something like Tahm Kench as well if they're worried about that. I think that makes a lot of sense as a ban here. Morgana is an answer that a lot of people have been picking up to some of these playmaking supports. You know, some of the players really have been taking to it, but that said, not every support is actually comfortable on Morgana, and it traditionally is considered a pretty weak laning champion in general, because if you miss your binding, there's essentially no threat coming out from you. So not sure that they're going to want to go that route.
Yeah, well, there was the Tahm ban for Envy, and LirA is getting targeted here with both Nidalee and Rek'Sai taken off the table. We'll see how Envy develop their draft, though.
I mean, Lee Sin's still available. There are still a lot of tank junglers as well. If you wanted to go that route, we could see things like the Sejuani, like the Maokai as well, and even the Nunu, but it's actually going to be Graves, and Graves is, I actually think, not really at a very strong point right now.
No, this is just kind of the LirA special in a lot of ways. He's such an aggressive player, played quite a number of Graves games recently, despite the pretty big dip in power. You can see that ban rate's abysmal for a champion that was once dominating in recent splits of the LCS and globally as well. But Blitzcrank's actually the pick here for Gates, so going to mix it up and get a bit more aggressive with the robot in the bot lane. And now Echo Fox is going to finalize their top lane by the looks of things. Don't think it's going to be Teemo, but we'll see what Loop has got cooked up here for what looks to be a blind pick. Yeah,
it is the second, well actually the third Graves pick this split for LirA, so he has brought it out a few times, but it really has kind of dropped off the map. Blitz is another answer that people have been actually using into these Thresh picks. You can actually put quite a bit of threat onto them, especially when you have a really strong early jungler, such as the Elise. Like, that is going to be a very powerful setup for the Elise, and it's going to make Thresh and Xayah play much more respectfully because of that. I also like, as a blind pick, the Gnar. I mean, there's really not a lot of good answers to it. There are some kind of counters, you could say, to it, things that work pretty well. J4 is one of them, but they're only actually like a counter or a good answer if you play aggressively, and that puts you in a very vulnerable position to the enemy jungler. So you now need LirA to be playing heavily around top lane if Seraph actually wants to play aggressive, which is the only way you beat Gnar. If you sit back, you get chipped out.
I think so as well, and Jarvan, even when he's trying to convert on mini Gnar, genuinely needs jungle assistance anyway, so I think a lot of top lane 2v2 he could be expecting here, and LirA, he is at his best when he's able to take over the enemy jungle and just constantly apply pressure around the map. Graves is a champion that can do that, but his overall power level has dipped so much. But to LirA's credit, he has been able to find it work, and I think for me, this is just a sign of a player that really does just play one way and do it very well, and even if the pick's not as good, he's like, I don't care, I'm good at this, I'm going to do it.
I definitely agree, and I definitely think he can make it work in this comp. And it's two pretty interesting compositions. I do like the fact that you have so much playmaking on Echo Fox. That has been one of the things that they have kind of struggled with. When you get to the mid game, when you get to the late game, they don't always feel like they know what to do. But there's some pretty clear options here. I mean, if you can get this Gnar ahead with a strong early game jungler, with a roaming mid laner, with a support who can roam and make plays, you can start to snowball some of these lanes and take over the game through split push.
It is kind of interesting to note, you know, Echo Fox, really without their star player, when Frogget isn't on the lineup, we heard Seraph almost jokingly say, you know, it's going to be pretty easy perhaps if he's not on the lineup, but I will actually point to Loop, he is a superstar level player. He has not played to that level very often since he's joined the NALCS, but he has been looking better, and his Gnar in particular has been good even in their recent games. So Echo Fox, They certainly have the ability to do it, but it is hard to see exactly what is happening with the revolving door of players coming through the team. But with a decent comp here and a fun level 1 as Blitz going to move out in front of the team, we'll see what Echofox can do as they're out onto Summoner's Rift for the first one.
And a lot of it also comes down to just how good is their communication, right? Like when you do have someone who is kind of using English as that second language, yes, LirA has had quite a bit of practice there, but still, like you're inserting different pieces into the puzzle. There's so many different swaps that they've been doing. They're swapping out their jungler, they're swapping out their mid lane, they're swapping out their AD carry as well. There's so many different like iterations of the roster that getting practice with all those different pieces, I think, can be pretty tough, and it can also be tough to have synergy among all the members.
I think so as well, and that's kind of why we've seen, you know, the 1 or 2 sub model, but mostly 1 be more successful because you can account for a lot of things when you're just changing 1 piece. So changing multiple pieces is certainly a radical strategy, given what we've seen, but Echofox, they're doing their own thing this split, that's for sure.
Yeah, they definitely are. And I mean, they're one of the teams that's actually, I think, the only team that's only practicing internally, right? They're practicing against their sub-squad or their academy team or whatever you want to call it. It's the Echofox 10, as they have kind of coined it, and these guys are going to be playing only internally. So that does give you more opportunities to kind of at least know their play styles, because even if you're not necessarily playing with Grig this game, you're probably playing against Grig this game. So you're going to get more opportunities to really see how they play, and hopefully that helps them adapt faster.
Well, we'll have to see how it all works out, but early jungle rats are nice and standard. Big super leash there for Grig. But LirA's actually going to go for a very quick invade. No buffs on that Graves.
Yeah, that is actually really dangerous. If he runs into Grig has the red buff, and yeah, he's going to have to bail out already. I think he was hoping perhaps that Grig would have been doing a different version of this clear and actually going down to the Krugs. And if you do that 3-camp clear and try to go bot side, which is sometimes what people show, then he could have stolen away the blue, then he could have stolen away some of this jungle and actually been able to make that path work. As it turns out, LirA gets a little bit of vision down, but kind of wastes some time, and he is going to be behind.
Well, there's actually part of the camp left on the Raptors, I believe, for Grig.
Yeah, they leave up the big Raptor generally with this clear. Just hit the fast level 2, go straight to the red. If you want to do the power clear on the bot side, you can actually then go back, clear the big Raptor, then do Krugs, then gank bot. Like, you can do these sorts of paths.
Yep.
But people have been trying different paths and trying to kind of throw off their opponents. So I think this was just a read from LirA that he would be going bot side.
Kind of a coin flip, which unfortunately for him, he loses, but not going to lose too much tempo on farming. Graves very quick through the jungle. So despite currently being pretty behind on experience with no help really from his team, or as much help certainly in the early jungle, should be able to clear through quickly enough. Although Damonte is going to spot him here, and Grig is level 4 with both buffs, so he's pretty deadly.
He is spotted though on the ward and not able to connect that cocoon, so just going to have to actually back off. And this is, you know, some time spent there by Grig. He is still up some experience, and that is going to be good for him, but it's not a massive lead, and this is not, as you said, a jungler that struggles to clear. You know, LirA is still walking around the map at full health, and he has his buffs completed, so it doesn't really end up making much difference at this point.
Look in the bottom lane, follow up a couple CS here, so he's getting that wave shoved in. Certainly shown a strong preference for Xayah, as Keith and Gate teaming up.
That was actually really well done.
Been practicing.
Yeah, I mean, getting all 4 of those ranged minions is not as easy as it looks. You have to actually prep them very well because of the explosive shot. You know, the first explosive shot preps the second minion, but then it messes up the third minion and so on and so forth. So you have to have more and more autos being thrown in, and they actually did that quite well.
Yeah, and this is certainly going to be a necessity for Echofox's duo here, because Apollo and Hakuho will just constantly apply pressure wherever they feel it's safe to do so, or even sometimes when it's unsafe. Good hook from Hakuho. Gonna land back into the smoke screen on top of LirA. Gatefall to Vice, but LirA gonna chase. And now Apollo still whipping out feathers, but not enough for a kill. Summoner burnt by Gate, though. Yeah,
nice lane gank. They actually get 2 summoners there. The heal comes out from Keith as well, and Flash being down on Blitz takes away so much of his threat in lane. You know, when he's posturing forward, knowing he doesn't have that summoner, means you don't have to respect what he can do nearly as much.
Oh,
really good hook.
Lanson's going to follow out. Apollo able to get out safely, but big chunk of damage being taken.
And that was actually so close to the cannon not being in range of the turret. Had the cannon been a little bit further back, the turret would have gone on Apollo, and that very likely would have at least been summoners.
Well, Apollo holds onto his summoners. Hakuho able to pluck him to safety with the Lantern, and again, aggression will continue here. Another hook from Gate, but Apollo's a little more ready behind his minion line this time.
Is prep for that. We'll see if they can get all 3 of these, and yep.
Teamwork. All right. Like you said, it is a lot harder than you think. That was one of the oldest complaints about Tristana, is that it just feels tough to last hit when he pushed in, but players have gotten a significantly more practice since then as well. Have a check-in with Nisqy in the mid lane. Looks like he's just comfortably farming. Taliyah pushes just about everybody in, but Nisqy's already gone back, got his tier. Early landing items up for Damonte as well, so just going to be a fun battle. See if Taliyah can leave this lane and get work done otherwise, because Nisqy will be happy to just sit here 1v1 as long as nothing too crazy is happening.
Yeah, exactly, and he actually has not been missing really much of the CS at all. He is up a bit in farm, and the fact that he had already based, looking very good for him, so going to be stacking away in that tier. And as you said, it's like there's onus on the Taliyah to get out of lane, to get something done elsewhere, because so much of your power is in the roaming, is in the playmaking, whereas Cassio, if you want to sit in lane and farm for 30 minutes, she's more than happy to do that, right? Like, this is a champion that hyper scales and is going to become unstoppable if she's just given that time to really get to her strong point.
It's been a pretty even game so far as Hakuho finds a minion. Gate finds nothing, so Hook's going a little wide there.
I think we're going to have to see Envy try to shove this in and reset, because Apollo is out of mana, and that's where it starts to get, I think, a little bit more risky. You can see he's spending the last of his mana actually to push out that wave, and they want to go back to base. We'll see if Gate's going to be able to get up there and interrupt them, but likely not.
Yeah, it looks like Envy shows some respect and back very far up the lane to make sure they can recall safely.
That's something I always like to see, and it's one of those little things, but sometimes players do get actually pretty lazy with the base, and if that gets delayed 1 or 2 times, it really can throw off your base timings a lot, because sometimes it can even mean you don't actually have the time to then base. You have to stay around or you'll lose too many minions. The minion waves will be in really bad spots. Because even with this base, this minion wave will reset and then kind of slow push to their opponents, because those minions being at the turret mean your own group up, and then will kind of stack and do more damage to the opposing minions faster.
Hakuho gets a single creep as Apollo returns to the lane. Hakuho now going to roam around and start warding, but early Moby boots actually for this Thresh, so expect him to get significantly more active in this game.
I'm expecting them to actually look for a play mid. We'll see if he does actually commit on that. If Taliyah shows, you can look to make that play. This is no cleanse on Taliyah. She has the Ghost Flash, so she'd have to be able to actually just dodge out on those skill shots, but going back to base, Thresh has been kind of missing for a while, so they are expecting that something may be going on.
Yeah, it looks like instead they'll just invade for vision as Nisqy feels safe to shove out that last wave with Damonte backing off. Hakuho now going to return to this lane and continue laning 2v2.
And Damonte being down almost 20 CS, I mean, he's going to pick up some of this, so it's not that bad. Certainly not where you want to be, though, in this matchup at 8 minutes. You are hoping that your push has kind of yielded you some sort of a farm advantage, but Nisqy, I think, is playing this lane out very, very well. And we'll see if he can continue to do so.
Yeah, got a second mana item now with that Catalyst, so will be Seraph's and Rod of Ages in some pairing together.
Yeah, I mean, Damonte going for the early Sork Boots, like, this is not a sit around and farm in lane build. This is a I will kill you build. Yep. We'll see if he's going to be able to actually get anything like that done, because if you're just sitting back and farming against someone who has a Catalyst and a tier, they're not going to run out of mana. You actually are, and that's part of the reason he's kind of down on farm here, is because he didn't go Lost Chapter or anything like that. He is going to be running out of mana and forced back to base much more often.
Well, good little...
Oh, nice cocoon.
Great cocoon from Grig. Looper going to Gnar him into the wall. It could be first blood converted. Grig flashes over. He's going to try and grab it, but Seraph actually with a long flash around might save his own life. EQ's over the wall, back towards Cassio. And now LirA in onto Grig, who's actually now trapped between the rest of Envy. Another stun there as Looper about to run out of Mega. There's an ulti as LirA got first blood. Could be 2 here as Looper also going to go down. Mini now so squishy as Damonte. Far too late. Does get a counter kill, but is he going to try and fight Damonte there with the double buffs?
There's no flash on Nisqy. I mean, Damonte could have maybe kept going, but decides to back off.
Alrighty, well, kind of an interesting jungle collapse. Hakuho is actually up here as well, so trying to make the difference. So is Gate also, as they've just abandoned the bottom lane.
Yeah, Echo Fox actually really, I felt like, kind of blew that in that 2v1. Grig hit the cocoon, Looper's going all in, and Grig is actually jungling. So if you watch the beginning of this play, picture this in a world where Grig actually goes immediately after Seraph. So Looper wants to go after him. Grig hits the cocoon, and then just goes in spider form, starts jungling. Like, now he goes over, right? Like, and look how little health Seraph had. If he had gone over immediately, 100% that is a dead J4. He actually used multiple auto attacks and abilities on the big Krug. So that should be a dead Seraph, a first blood, and then you walk out with your mid lane support. Instead, there's hesitation. He has to commit the flash to try to get a kill. Can't even do so, then doesn't have it to escape. And now they're in this situation where they give over first blood, they give over 2 kills and the advantage to their opponents.
Yeah, and you said abilities, the one that is going to stick out is Spider Form Q, which if you're playing at home is of course an execute. So certainly not synchronized. When you talk about, you know, bringing in variables to a team, things not looking quite as together because they're not as experienced, that's a pretty clear example.
Yeah, I mean, it's synergy, it's communication. Grig clearly just wanted to do some counter jungling and leave. Looper clearly thought they were going to kill him. And when you're not on the same page, that really can cost you a lot.
All right, well, at least a trade kill there for Echofox as it's only 2-1 up for Envy in kills. They're up not quite 1,000 gold. I'll lead though, so getting first blood gold is nice. And even though Seraph's a little bit behind, should play catch up here. He grabs a very big wave. We'll see if Looper can get too much harassment done out of the turret, but Jarvan IV able to sweep that one out, and Seraph will make it about 10 between them.
Yeah, it's certainly not by any means that, oh god, the game's over or anything. It's just one of those situations where you talk about how swinging the top lane can be. You know, if Gnar gets a couple kills there in first blood, all of a sudden for Jarvan, you can't all in, and then what do? You just get slammed under your turret, and that can be a really big part of the game. So we'll see if Damonte can actually get out to these side lanes, utilize the ultimate. Sitting at level 9 now, don't think we have actually seen the Weaver's Wall shown off just yet. Hasn't really been able to find an opportunity to go for those roams, but you want to see people like Blitz and like Taliyah are really trying to get out on the map and make some plays early.
Well, see Nisqy benefits a lot from the gold he just got. Rotovate is actually already completed now with the blue buff and level 10. Starting to take over this lane where, of course, Taliyah did have control of it early.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be really strong, like stacking up this Roa very, very fast. They're trying to make a play here on bot side. 4 members strong down here, and Keith is very far up. He's just accepted his death. He's trying to all in for a kill.
Yeah, busted shot Hakuho gets exhausted though, so can't get that out of range. And Apollo's just going in for it. They're able to play clean up, and yeah, that's an easy one for Envy.
Yeah, smart of Keith to not actually use any summoners there. Maybe could have tried to force summoner out of Apollo, but didn't have the damage, and Damonte.
Yeah, Seraph committing for this one. Might use a lot of his health bar, but it's a bait. No, Damonte able to get the kill and flashes out as Looper takes the turret. Seraph with a well-intended roam, but that did not work out.
Well-intended is a good way to put it. Definitely wasn't intending to give over a kill and also the first turret, but Echofox really nicely done there. They do get some of those kills, and Damonte has invested heavily into combat power. You know, no lost chapter, he's sitting on a Fiendish Codex, and these Stork boots and blasting one instead. Getting another kill for himself, so very well played, survives. And the fact that Looper got solo gold on the first turret, these are very big things for Echofox.
Yep, Ninja Tabi and Black Cleaver actually completed for Looper, so Seraph is out of this 1v1 for the time being, as Grig also starting up the Rift Turret on the top side. Looks like all that control Echofox have gotten on this half of the map will yield them an objective.
Yeah, you always have to be really concerned about experience also. Being essentially more than a full level up right now is Looper, and that is very, very troublesome in that 1v1. We're going to have to see Seraph try to kind of hold on in the 1v1 or look to group and make plays, look to roam and make plays, which is what he was trying to do, you know, onto Damonte, but Nisqy not there in time to actually follow up, and Seraph wasn't full health, so he couldn't really survive.
Yeah, Looper though returning to that lane. Seraph just going to push the wave and leave. Knows that it's not really safe to be showing in a long lane versus Gnar for too long. But actually going back to mid lane.
Exactly. This is what you want to do, right? If you cannot actually abuse or kill your lane opponent once you push in, strafing back and forth doesn't do anything. Go off the map. Threaten a roam towards mid lane. Even if you actually accomplish nothing, even if you just walk into darkness, they have to respect the fact that you could be coming. They have to play differently. It changes the mindset of your opponent. So these little roams are very intelligent and don't really cost you anything. No,
minor teleport advantage for Envy as well. So Seraph can also threaten that when he dips into the Fog of War. But it looks like we'll see something brewing in the bot lane here. LirA is back for a visit. Keith went down recently. We'll see if Echofox's duo places maybe a little bit more caution here in the bot lane. I think Envy have already discovered that it's likely they know, so they're going to sweep out Vision and look back towards mid. Envy really do have a stronghold here in this bottom half of the map.
And vision control is even more important against things like the Taliyah and the Twisted Fate and stuff that can roam around the map, because you're really trying, as LirA did not have a smite there, Nabu did actually, so it goes over to Grig, but you're trying to deny the roam, right? So it's Damonte wants to be able to roam, but if every time he leaves lane, you back off because you have the vision, it's very hard for him to actually do that. So that is why Envy, or one of the reasons why Envy is fighting so heavily for vision around this bot side. Like, look at that line of wards. They have the scuttle and then 6 wards across the map there. So there's entirely controlled. Like, there's no place that Damonte can actually ult from where he will not be seen. And that makes it very, very hard for him to get out of lane and try to get something done.
Fox actually now moving in to clear some of that vision out of the way and making a play on mid. LirA also roamed down. Seraph tied up with his own wave right now. Hakuho hooks over to the blue buff and going to try and help Nisqy get that one, but Fox are looking for a collapse here. Buff going to get pulled.
Oh.
No. Gate couldn't see, so just had to guess where it was. Guesses wrong, and Nisqy gets the buff.
Yeah, Fox starting up this dragon. We'll see if they actually decide to commit on it. Seraph does have his TP. I don't know if they want to fight. Looks like they may just be giving it up. It is only a cloud. And Seraph, I think, is just going to take the time to try to push this out. But now they're TPing in. It's a little bit too late. I mean, it's already gone.
Weaver's wall as well going to cut the rest of Envy off, and Fox just casually leaves the Drake pit. Grig's kind of trapped, needs repel, but off to the blast go and he goes.
I mean, that was just such a late teleport that even, like, at that point, all you're hoping for is a fight. The dragon is already gone. And they don't even get that. LirA does not have to expend his teleport, so they use their TP, they get nothing, and the wave has not actually even fully crashed, it looks like, in the top lane. So essentially, all Seraph did is stack up a nice fat wave for LirA in the top side, and then waste his TP.
Yep, could have just stayed, got some damage on the turret, cut the spot up on farm. Envy do make a nice counterplay here on the bottom side. They're actually going to get a turret. They are able to take down the bottom outer, but had pressure there already, so didn't necessarily need to commit. Seraph, who's here just helping out as the wave gets pushed through.
It is smart to go for a play like that, though. You know, even though the initial teleport failed, try to get something else. You're on the bot side of the map. LirA does want to go top and get that wave before it crashes, so smart of Seraph to actually go and try to help out and take that turret so they at least get something back. And they are still up in gold, to be fair, but it's a little bit.
Envy doing okay. I mean, it is really do just have a split map here after the first 17 minutes of this game. Fox have shown pretty much all their pressure towards the top half of the map as Grig actually channels and summons the Rift Herald here in mid lane. Gonna try and do some damage to that turret, but response already coming in from Envy.
Yeah, and the wave was not preemptively pushed. I like it so much more when the wave is already getting to the turret, because this is not going to do anything. Like, it's not even going to get charged.
Graves is so good against Rift Herald. Just getting knocked around.
Yeah.
And it does.
I mean, maybe it was getting close to expiring, and that's why he had to do it. But then even I prefer just kind of dropping it in a side lane, so for that delayed threat. Because in this case, you want Damonte to shove out the wave, then you're dropping it, so it at least gets the immediate charge and that chunk of damage down. Because the Rift Herald can be CC'd, and if it's actually caught out in the middle of the lane like that, very, very easy to take down before it has any value.
Yeah, good response there from Envy to stop that. Unfortunately for Fox, don't really get anything out of the objective they took earlier.
75 gold, essentially, as you get 100 gold for killing it, and they get 25 gold for killing it back.
Not bad.
It's like a really big canyon.
It's a huge control wood.
Yeah.
It's what you've invested in. As LirA takes down the Scuttle Crab outside track. Really, that's so little gold.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's it. I mean, it's about the expected value, right?
Yep.
And the expected value is a turret. That's why you're taking it. If you do not get a turret with it, it is so bad to take because it takes quite a bit of time. But it's not like they really gave up anything too much to take it, so it's not the end of the world. Certainly not what you're hoping to get, though. And LirA may be getting caught out here. He needs to avoid the ultimate.
Oh, Nisqy already burns the ult. Did actually just stay sideways, so dodges it as he flashes over the back of the Baron pit to relative safety. Hakuho with a flash blade.
Oh.
Hop over the wall. Blast going on top. LirA gets out of there. And he's scot-free.
Yeah, he had no business getting out of there, but the jump comes back right at the right time. You can see the smile on his face. He knows he was a little bit lucky to get out of there. Actually ends up costing Envy 3 summoners for just his one and escapes, and now the Weaver's Wall coming in. Fox maybe trying to fight.
Didn't even get the blue buff.
That TP is like a mile away. Where's LirA TP?
Charge up some rage by taking caps as someone dives in. It's Hakuho, but he's going down to key. LirA still up. It was a long con. He's cutting them off. He knew they would win, and now they're retreating. Although I think Envy are going to be okay. Pretty long lane to get out of, though.
There's no turret. I mean, they can keep chasing.
Apollo forced to burn Featherstorm already. Damonte trying to find it. Flash hook from Gate's going to miss us. Seraph flag and drags out of the way. LirA still fighting. About to go Mega. Going to leap into the team, but Apollo was to take him down. LirA, though, able to get himself a kill. And Fox pick up 2.
And nicely done for Fox. Get a couple kills there. Really good use of the Weaver's Wall. And as funny as the teleport looked, it did work out. I mean, he TP'd halfway across the map from his team. Nice hook!
Very nice, and that's a flash from LirA. You hate to see that happen.
Heron is spawning. They could actually try to rush this now. They just killed the jungler, and I think they're going to go for it. This is a 20-minute Baron, taking it on spawn. Envy knows they need to contest it. We'll see if they can, because Fox can turn for the fight with the hook.
All right, Nisqy needs to get into the
actually
mix
just gone.
and just find a big ultimate, but the Baron already too low. Nisqy flash ults in, gonna try and just kill everybody in the pit. Envy getting low, but Gate actually takes down Nisqy. That's gonna be Baron over to Fox. They do claim it as Keith gets the last hit. Seraph goes down and Echo Fox collect it all.
What a huge turn there for Echo Fox. They get the kills, and the hook onto LirA as the Baron is spawning means they not only get the Baron, they get a 2-for-1 trade. The top and the mid laner go down just for Gate, so that is so big for Echo Fox, and that is going to give them a massive amount of control when Looper's already so ahead in this 1v1. He's 2 levels up on the Gnar. He can now collect so much gold, and here is the initial fight again. You can see the Gnar teleport coming in a mile away.
To be fair, that's the only ward, but...
Well, you can TP to the minions of your turret,
That's
you can TP to the
true,
ward at the blue buff, but anyway, he does come in. The initial play is going very well for Echo Fox, so it works out because they were pushed into it, and Looper able to delay very, very well. They're able to just essentially chase them down. You know, the ult has to be used defensively for Apollo. It's very hard to actually ever get away from a Gnar because he has so many slows. Boomerang's almost no cooldown once you're on the Black Cleaver for the CDR, so get that kill, and then the big hook did come out from Gate. And if you can take down the jungler, allows you to actually go for these early Barons, and now they're getting these turrets down.
I mean, I think in general, teams have gotten very good at identifying just how long it takes to do a Baron. Even without something like a Mountain Drake or two that makes it even easier, teams are just finding windows and smashing down Baron. If teams in that very pivotal moment make the wrong decision, they're just losing Baron in situations where they normally wouldn't have.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact of the matter is, I don't even know if Envy really, like, made a wrong decision unless you want to count, you know, the initial fight as a wrong decision, right? And like LirA getting hooked and these sorts of things, that's where it was a mistake. I don't think there's really much of anything they can do in the 3v5 to actually contest once that happens. Because Echo Fox has such a good comp at actually turning and fighting too, you know, the Blitzcrank to engage and all the CC. So they definitely put themselves in a rough spot, and it's almost you have to go back all the way and be like, hey, should the team have been contesting this blue buff when Gnar has teleport and Weaver's wall is up? Like, but that's so many steps before the Baron even happened.
Yeah. Certainly not a mistake for Envy in the situation they ended up in, but it is impressive to see the speed at which teams are doing Baron.
It's also impressive to see all the vision for Echo Fox actually on the map. There was about 3 or 4 wards on the blue side of the Envy jungle. Those are now starting to get cleared out, but there's 3 or 4 on the other side of the map as well. Envy trying to sneak away this dragon, but Looper's already on the top side pushing that out, and the bottom tier 2 is getting very low here as well. Mid lane's going to be pushed up. The top side jungle of Envy is going to be taken away. And the top turret is pretty much for sure gone. So Echo Fox is starting to pick up a lot of gold during this Baron power play, and it's going to be tough to come back.
I know you're happy to see all that vision out because Looper's next teleport's going to be juicy. Plenty of wards to go to as Echo Fox do clean up a number of turrets with that Baron. They took 2, I believe, just before this 3rd one that they're about to clean up. Weaver's well cuts them off, makes the siege even easier.
I'm also just happy to see Echo Fox actually playing the mid in the mid game and the late game, whatever you want to call it. I guess still mid game. Actually very well, right? Because that is a rare sight to see. It always feels like they waffle around. They're not really sure where to do, where to go, what to do. But their vision control has been very good, and I think that has enabled them to make a lot of these plays. You know, especially when you're playing a pick composition with Blitz and Elise and Taliyah and all these sorts of champions, you need to fight for vision, and they've actually done a good job of extending it.
Yeah, they'll play aggressive, and they're doing just that here.
It's gone.
That turret looks gone. Oh, that's a Mega Gnar. Don't hook him in. Lupa gets grounded, but now transforms, and turret already goes down. No other pressure really on the map. The next wave that crashed mid lane has already been met by Seraph, but pretty massive amount of damage done, honestly, with that Baron. Echo Fox are, what, 7,000 gold ahead already? And I think they were behind before this play started.
Yeah, I mean, they were very close in gold before it started. You know, when the initial blue buff play, I think they were a couple hundred gold behind. So it's been an insane swing of gold in the last 4 or 5 minutes. And now you simply send Looper bot lane. He picks up that easy last outer turret. You continue to fight for vision. The 4-man squad of Echo Fox should be fighting for vision as a team. You don't want to get picked off. You want to move around as a squad, establish your vision control in your opponent's jungle once again, start to choke them out, and make it so that they cannot pick you off while your Gnar is split pushing. That's the most important thing.
Looks like Envy are trying to get some pushes happening in the mid lane, but Keith, with almost his 3rd item completed, will make quick work of those waves. As Echo Fox just going back, spending their gold and cleaning up the buffs on their side of the map. Envy also going to go for a bit of a reset here. Nisqy actually on duty right now to clean up the incoming wave. Can see Lupa very far down the lane, but already knows that turret is going to be tough to defend. As you can see, Echo Fox 5,700 gold, or just shy in that Baron power play. That is a massive gold swing.
Yeah, it really is. And when so much of that gold is actually concentrated on the carries, like that is a very frightening prospect. You know, each of the carries is essentially 2,000 or more gold ahead, or right around there. You know, for AD carry, for mid laner, for top laner, these guys all have very, very big gold leads, and everything is concentrated where you would want it.
LirA also more than ready for whatever business he needs to attend to. Frozen Mallet got completed, and now actually 2 good tank components in the Chain Vest and the Cowl already done. So he can team fight, he can split push, he can, I don't know, probably pull a rabbit out of a hat at this point.
He can dance a jig, do whatever his heart desires.
Exactly, and there's a third item up for Keith. So yeah, you can kind of see all this gold coalescing to this 1 point for Echo Fox. I mean, Envy will have a chance to defend here. Baron up in a minute 20 or so, and Inhibitor still being standing means they're not out of this game, but 8,000 gold down with all these items packed for Fox. It's going to be a tough ask to try and win a team fight.
I mean, one of the scariest parts is, you know how the super fed Trist, essentially at 3 items very early, there's not a single piece of armor on the entire team. Like, not even a cloth armor. There's nothing on Envy. So you can go for these optimized builds. You don't have to worry about grabbing a Last Whisper or anything like that. And it's going to make it so hilariously easy for him to shred through his opponents if he can stay untouched. And with a very fed LirA and a very fed Damonte, it's hard to actually get to the Tristana. You know, who do you focus? Which target do you prioritize?
Well, it looks like Echo Fox is starting to wind up this play. LirA teleport ready in the bot side, getting things pushing and threatening that turret. Echo Fox have once again taking complete control of this top half of the map, and of course, they can fall back to Baron in 30 seconds if needed.
Yeah, and it's the job of the 4-man squad from Echo Fox now to just chill out. No one is showing to actually defend against LirA. Let him take that free turret. Let him push in the waves. When someone shows on that side, then you apply the pressure, right? Then you know, hey, we're in an even fight, or we are in an advantageous fight. And they can even just kind of sit back because Baron is up in 10, as you said, and they have the vision control. So the onus is going to be on Envy to actually get up there and try to check if that's happening, because they have the option to A, rush it down, or B, just bait.
Well, Echo Fox are going
They're going to rush it.
The rush it down option. They perfectly moved over just as it was spawning and started now. I mean, it's already at 50% health.
It's already gone.
Can barely see LirA just hanging out in the mid lane. Damonte is going to just cut them all off, and that'll make it trivially easy as Fox get their second Baron of this game.
Yeah, you can see Envy knew there was no chance. They actually got the ward on the Baron, but they were too far away and it was already too low, so they just accept that it is already off the map, and Echo Fox already pushing top lane. Like, this is actually really good map movement from them, not actually going back to defend against Envy. They have the inside track on top side. LirA simply buffed up those minions, defended there. They're going to get a free inhibitor, and Envy is kind of caught with their pants down.
I mean, the pace of play since Echo Fox took that one fight around their own blue buff has been breakneck for this team. Very impressive to see. Not just the intelligence of the things they are doing to get them, but the speed at which they're doing it. They moved to Baron literally as it spawned. They were 10 seconds. They're all right, this is exactly the amount of time we need to walk over and be at the pit as it spawns. It's just wonderful to watch.
I mean, Baron has been alive for like 30 seconds this game, and they've killed it twice. Like, Baron is having a rough day.
Oh, sadly had to come into work. I know it's a Sunday, but it's been tough for old Baron. Yeah, he'll be back for round 2, as this game seems to be wrapping up quickly.
He's persistent. I'll give him that.
He is. Always very grumpy. Yeah. Shows up late, 20 minutes into every game, but does a good job. As again, Echo Fox just kind of doing their administration. Looks like Drake's out of here for Grig. This will be a comfortable solo, though Keith's gonna help out.
Yeah, because they wanted to reset, spend up all their gold, get back out on the map. Now they're getting vision control in the blue side jungle of Envy. They have top lane pushing because of the super minions. Now you can just group 4 bot, put LirA mid, shove in the waves, repeat, siege with the Baron buff, and if Tristana gets any time in the turrets, they're going to go down. And I mean, eventually Envy will have to answer the top side, answer the bottom side. So for them, it's really tough. It's like, can you actually engage into your opponents? And I mean, it's going to be hard to, but at the same time, can you afford to sit back? Because Gnar is going to be chipping away at your turrets. The super minions are going to be coming top lane. You're on a clock.
Yeah, and you can see LirA applying that mid lane pressure already. Damonte with another good wall. Actually going to trap Nisqy in.
They're just giving up both turrets.
I mean, can't really fight for the bottom side one, and LirA's already done the damage to the middle one, so Envy are running out of good options. They might have to take a bad one.
I mean, Envy only has bad options remaining. They essentially have to engage here, or they're just going to get triple inhib. If that happens, you are done. So they need to look for a miracle engage. But Echo Fox knows that and is playing very far back and playing very defensive.
Hakuho already burnt that hook, so he's going to need to look for another one in a couple of seconds. But Inhib falls, though, before these cooldowns do reprise. And that's going to be the triple Inhibs. Baron's still up for 50 seconds. They might just chill in the base and let the minions do their job.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to give up triple Inhib without a fight, like, it almost feels like conceding. I think it's so hard to ever actually come back from that state, but we'll see if Envy can do it. They're going back to base.
Well, there's a hook from Gate. There's Keith with a kill. Nisqy with the ulti out, but Seraph going to jump in. Do take down Grig, but just too much damage on the other side as Nisqy playing forward gets buster shot back by Keith. Envy, their last stand was a valiant one, but it's not going to do too much else, I don't think. Echo Fox able to slap down turret number 1. Gate does look for a hook, but a flash is all he's going to get here. The Nexus now exposed in Envy, defending their final structure.
I mean, you're in the Alamo at this point. There's just so many minions crashing in from all sides, and Keith is low. You know, he could maybe force them back, but they just need to usher in the
a crunch
nice
smell there from Looper. He's going to get a little bit of damage. Nisqy picked up by Damonte as Keith doing what he needs to do. Echo Fox with a very clean game number 1.
Very impressive stuff from Echo Fox with the sub squad in there. Damonte looking pretty pumped up. Fist bump with Grig, and they should feel good about this. I mean, this is an MV team that was, well, Seraph, I should say, was saying that the only real challenge on Echo Fox is Frog. And Damonte comes in, and he has a really good game. I mean, 4-0-4 on the Taliyah. I think his Weaver's Walls were very good, you know, setting up the fight at the blue buff. They were very decisive. They got a couple early Barons and able to close out the game very well from there in what was otherwise a very tightly contested match.
I think for me, one of the big impressions I get watching the game from Echo Fox is how practiced and drilled that felt, which is impressive given the number of, non-starting players you've brought in, or newer players, right, who haven't played nearly as many games on the LCS stage. I mean, Damonte's first series was this weekend, and now he's in his second series, and I believe his first game win, so congratulations there on this one for the first. But, I mean, that just looks so practiced. I mean, Damonte's wall positions looked, you know, very labbed out. The efficiency in the movement, and even the planning in the early stages, just felt like Echo Fox. One of the things we always question is how are they practicing, but whatever they are doing, it seems like they're getting really good, efficient time.
At least
learning kind
it worked really well in this game, right? And we have to see, like, can they keep that up? Can they be consistent? Because that has been, I think, the question about so many of the teams in our league. You know, Envy, 2-0 Cloud9 yesterday. Got smashed by Echo Fox in game 1 today. You know, like, what's going to happen? And it seems like no one really has the answers in a lot of these games because the teams are so up and so down.
Well, up certainly there for Echo Fox, but we're going to check in with Dash and Marksy to break down that Echo Fox win.
Thank you very much. Pastry time. Echo Fox grabbing the win. I love where Azale's going with this because aside from, for example, CLG, TSM, and Immortals at this point, the rest of the pack when it comes to North American LCS seems a lot more undecided here in week 6 than it did, you know, last week or the week before. And specifically looking at Team Envy and their 2-0 yesterday over C9, you would expect them to come in and have the edge here over Echo Fox, and it doesn't play out that way. And I think in large part due to the draft, which I know you have some thoughts on.
Yeah, I think this turns out to be a pretty bad draft from Envy. It's one that's hard to see coming as you're going through it, but you end up putting a lot of resources spent by Echo Fox banning out LirA. And LirA's fine on any champion. And the problem is not, okay, LirA ended up on Graves. The problem is that you ended up putting him on Graves when you need a tank as your last pick. And then you don't end up taking away the Gnar. You don't ban it. You don't put any bans into the top lane. And so they take a Gnar when you need a tank, and then almost no tanks are good into Gnar. Jarvan does have the ability to put some gank pressure onto the Gnar, but they already have the Elise. They have the better early game jungler, so you can't 2v2 topside. Your bot lane does have an advantage, but you can't push it because the Graves is not a super aggressive early game jungler.
Very little gank assist there.
Right, so you almost have almost no early game playmaking, and then your top side is just going to lose on its own. So you end up with, you know, LirA's fine, and you probably want to get a counter pick top, but you just have nothing to do.
Right, it seems like the whole draft fell apart there in the second phase. Either they weren't expecting the mid-Rek'Sai bans, the focus in on the jungle. I'm not entirely sure, because as you mentioned again, in isolation, those first 3 picks, Thresh, Xayah, Cassiopeia, seem like great picks for Envy. And yes, even having LirA on the Graves, once again, you're like, well, he's a top performer on Graves. I'll put him on any champion and he'll probably perform well. But all of a sudden, we don't have early game pressure because of the jungler choice, and we don't have team fight pressure because we've got no front line to move through and actually take a fight once Echo Fox has a lead.
Yeah, I mean, you do have the Jarvan, but the problem is he fell behind the Gnar in the just straight laning phase. And there was some early skirmishing around the top side, but that was mostly going even that entire time, which, you know, is fine, but you still this whole time did not develop any leads, something that Envy generally does. And they just stall out into this mid-game situation where eventually Echo Fox starts making some plays.
And that's the thing, right? Once you get into that mid-game, when you've got champions like Blitz and Thresh on the map, it's really just who's going to make the play first. And in this case, it's Echo Fox. 19 minutes in, they get a pick here in the jungle, going to convert that into a Baron as well as an advantageous kill trade.
So right before this situation, Envy had chased really deep into Echo Fox's jungle. Gate landed a hook to kill Hakuho. They chase up the top side. Then they start pressuring around Baron. LirA tries to work his way in there. They hadn't actually started. They were waiting in the jungle. They picked LirA, and now they're in a situation where they just forced this Baron down basically right at the 20-minute mark. Envy tries to collapse, but people are not quite in position. They start getting people low. They are able to finish Gate off, and it starts to get a little dicey. But this whole time, Damonte is untouched in the backside, helping clean people up. Looper eventually goes Mega. They get some CC, and you're still ultimately in a 3v5 situation. And there you see that gold.
Look how even that is until that exact moment.
Yeah, it just explodes at that Baron buff.
Exactly. So, hey, what we can say then is good on Echo Fox, where typically they can be the target of a lot of criticism for how slowly they close games out, even with advantages. Here it is. They found their one explosive moment. They made the play. They took the advantage, and then they properly played it out. They had the Gnar out in the side lane. They spread the map out, able to push in on those turrets and create the pressure and suffocate in the base.
Yeah, and that's the situation when you talk about the draft for Envy once again. From behind, it does have a little bit of playmaking, but it's tough to do if you're getting spread out around the map. Your Jarvan's pushed in, your Thresh is pushed in, your Cassio's pushed in, and I think you got to give Echo Fox a lot of credit. You heard the casters talking about it a little bit, is that they looked pretty practiced with this comp overall. It did feel like something that they had a game plan heading into this game. We're going to target LirA really hard. We're going to be able to put a couple of us on playmakers. We have the Taliyah, the Blitzcrank, the Gnar, and we're going to go just, you know, once we get a small lead, we're going to use these Taliyah ults very effectively.
Exactly. Taliyah ults used incredibly effectively. Damonte picks up player of the game for his play on the Taliyah pick. I mean, let's also remember that this victory here is with Damonte and Grig in the lineup. So Echo Fox, one of the teams in the North American LCS that really is looking at cycling players. Again, whether they're trying to find the best 5 to sit on or trying to utilize them strategically, that's for them to know and us to speculate. But here we have Damonte, 4-0-4 showing here. He's stepping up as a mid laner here in the North American LCS, especially having to live in Froggen's shadow.
Yeah, I feel like anytime that you substitute a star player out for someone like Damonte, who does not have that much recognition right now, it's the kind of thing where you think, all right, this guy is just going to get scrutinized and picked apart for anything he does wrong, but you can't say anything bad about him in this game. In the early game, he made a couple plays to keep Echo Fox in it after LirA was actually starting to make a couple of his own plays, and then in the late game, he was able to execute exactly the Taliyah ults you want to see.
We're on the topic, so I'll inform you.
I saw your eyes go wide.
That went very wide as I saw the information pop up on the screen here. Brandini, Acadian, and Mash, all three of them will be subbing in for Echo Fox here going into game 2. So Grig out, Damonte remaining in, Brandini and Mash as well. I'm just going to be very curious to see, again, how this iteration plays. Do they stick with a similar formula and just have different players piloting the champions? Or do they depart from that entirely and make it that much more difficult for Envy to respond in Champ Select?
Well, the beautiful thing is exactly what you just said. As much as we're speculating right now, Envy is as well as like, so wait, what was our game plan?
Right.
Because we have to throw it all out the window. The only thing that's basically consistent is Gate, who we know plays a lot of different stuff and did actually take a fair amount of focus in this draft. And then Damonte just had a fantastic game, so of course he stays in, and you say, all right, well, maybe we take away the Taliyah, but what else do we do against this guy? We haven't seen that much about him.
I mean, the other big thing I think we have to go back to is enable LirA, right? So that this was our original point. We love the Graves pick for LirA. We don't love the Graves pick in the composition for Envy because it doesn't allow one of your strongest players to do what he needs to do to make the team successful.
Right. At one point, he was 2-1-1, which is like, great. If this game goes to 30 minutes and we're even, I'm sure LirA will be a monster in team fights.
Right.
But the problem is, I think as Envy, that's not what your team does best. You want him to use leads, get Apollo ahead, get Nisqy ahead, 2 players who have shown that they have late game carry potential.
Exactly.
And then perform as a team, because that's really how they won yesterday, was as a team.
Get LirA, either Nid, Rek'Sai, Gragas, Elise, or Lee Sin. You got 5 options. Just pick one up in the first phase, please. Echo Fox taking a clean game 1, though. Stick around after the break. See if Team Envy can come back in this series. We'll be right back.
It's actually just gone.
And just find a big ultimate, but the Baron already too low. Nisqy flash ults in, gonna try and just kill everybody in the pit. Envy getting low, but Gate actually takes down Nisqy. That's gonna be Baron over to Fox. They do claim it as Keith gets the last hit. Seraph goes down and Echo Fox collect it all.
What a huge turn there for Echo Fox.
Echo Fox with a very clean game number 1.